My own mother slammed the door in my face and shouted, "You're dead to us." But she didn't know I held the one thing that could flip their world upside down. I stood outside in the freezing rain, no shoes, no money, just Dad's secret letter burning in my coat pocket. Behind that door, my so-called family was celebrating, dividing up his fortune like vultures. But none of them knew what I knew. Dad never changed the will. He just hid it, and he left it with me. Before I reveal what was in that letter, hit like, subscribe, and share, because this revenge? It's about to blow your mind. It started 2 weeks after Dad's funeral. The house smelled like fresh flowers, fake sympathy. Everyone was dressed in black, but their eyes were on the money. Mom stood like a CEO in the dining room, holding some official-looking documents. "We've decided to move forward with the estate," she said coldly. "Emily will not be receiving any inheritance." I froze. "What do you mean?" "Dad promised," Mark interrupted, smirking. "He promised a lot of things. Maybe you imagined it, like your so-called career." Jessica laughed so loud, it echoed. That's when I knew they'd planned this together. I was the outsider now. The burden. The useless daughter. Who stayed behind to take care of Dad, while they all disappeared, but none of them knew that the night before he died, Dad called me into his room and handed me a sealed envelope. He said, "They'll lie, Emily. They'll try to erase you. But this will protect you when the time comes." And now, the time had come. I pulled the letter from my coat and placed it gently on the table. "Before you all make any decisions," I said, "you might want to read this first." Mom didn't even glance at it. She grabbed it and ripped it in half, then came the scream, "You're ungrateful. Get out. And never come back." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just walked out, with the real will still saved on the USB drive in my other pocket. They thought they erased me, but what came next would turn their entire world into ashes. They had no idea the lawyer they were about to meet was hired by me. I didn't go back home. I didn't call. I didn't beg. Instead, I booked a cheap motel room and opened Dad's USB drive for the first time. My hands trembled as I clicked the video file. And there he was, weak, pale, but with fire in his voice. "If you're watching this, Emily, it means they turned on you. I knew they would. That's why I made a second will, the real one. You were the only one who stayed by my side. The only one who never asked for a dime. This entire estate belongs to you. And I've arranged everything with my lawyer, Mr. Bennett. He'll know what to do." I couldn't breathe. It was like Dad had risen from the grave just to fight for me. The next morning, I walked into Mr. Bennett's quiet little office, clutching the USB and the sealed copy of Dad's handwritten will. He looked up, recognized me instantly, and said, "I was wondering when you'd come." We spent hours going through the paperwork. Turns out, Dad had already signed the real will in private, giving everything to me, the house, the savings, the stocks, even his antique shop that Mark tried to sell behind my back. Mr. Bennett gave me a small smile. "This is going to be messy. Are you ready for that?" I nodded. I've waited my whole life to stop being the quiet one. Meanwhile, back at home, they were already planning renovations and listing furniture online. I saw Mark post a picture on Instagram, "New beginnings. Dad would be proud." I smiled, because I had just asked Mr. Bennett to schedule a legal meeting for the reading of the real will, and I made sure the entire family was invited. 2 days later, they walked into Mr. Bennett's office laughing, until they saw me sitting at the head of the table. Jessica hissed, "What the hell is she doing here?" Mark leaned back, smug. "Don't tell me you brought some fake letter again." I didn't even respond. I just nodded at Mr. Bennett. He stood up, cleared his throat, and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the legal reading of the will of Mr. Thomas Reynolds. The only valid version, signed and witnessed." You should have seen their faces. When he said the words, "I leave my entire estate to my daughter, Emily Reynolds, and to no one else." Silence, then chaos. Mom stood up, screaming, "This is a lie. She manipulated him. He was sick. This can't be legal." But Mr. Bennett simply handed her a stamped copy. I turned to her and said quietly, "You told me I was dead to you. Well, consider this my ghost coming back." Jessica lunged across the table to grab the will, but the lawyer stopped her cold. "Touch that document, and I'll have you escorted out for tampering with legal evidence," Mr. Bennett warned. Her hand froze midair, her face turning red with rage and humiliation. Mark looked like he'd seen a ghost. Mom? She just stared at me, eyes wide, lips trembling, like she was finally realizing she no longer held the power, and I wasn't done. Yet I calmly pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and the TV behind Mr. Bennett flickered on. There, playing in full HD, was the video, Dad's final message, recorded just 3 days before he passed. I know this won't sit well with your mother or your brother, Dad's voice said, but they chose their distance. Only Emily stood by me. I want her to have everything, not because she asked for it, but because she earned it. Mom gasped like someone had punched her. He was manipulated. He was on meds, he wasn't thinking clearly. I turned to her and said, "You want to talk about manipulation? You faked an official will just to kick me out." Mr. Bennett didn't even blink. "And that, ma'am, is forgery. I've already submitted the documents to the probate court. You should expect a call from the judge soon." Jessica mumbled under her breath, "This is bulls asterisk asterisk asterisk. We deserve something." I turned to her, my voice calm but sharp. "You deserve nothing. You ghosted Dad for 5 years. The only time you called was when you needed money for your fake eyelash business." Mark finally spoke. "So what now? You just take everything and we get nothing?" I stood up, slowly, and looked him dead in the eyes. "No, Mark. I don't take anything. I own it. Legally. Rightfully. And you? You're not even allowed to set foot on the property again." Mom's voice cracked. "You wouldn't do that to me. I'm your mother." I walked over, leaned in just close enough for her to hear, and whispered, "You stopped being my mother the night you threw me out into the rain." Just then, Mr. Bennett's assistant entered and handed over a court-stamped restraining order. On Emily's request, this order prohibits any of you from entering or claiming any part of the Reynolds estate. Effective immediately. Their faces dropped. Jessica started crying. Mark stormed out. Mom stood frozen, lips parted, shaking, and I walked out of that office with the keys in my hand, head high, heart pounding, but I wasn't heading home just yet, because there was one more twist they didn't see coming. The house they thought they were inheriting? I already sold it, and bought something 10 times bigger, in their neighborhood. 2 weeks after the reading of the will, while they were still whining and scrambling for second opinions, I finalized the sale of Dad's old house, the one they were fighting over like wild animals. But I didn't stop there. I used the money, along with Dad's untouched investment portfolio, to buy a mansion 3 blocks away from Jessica's house, a glass front estate with its own pool, theater, and a gate that shut tighter than their lies ever could. And then I did something they never expected. I threw a housewarming party. No invites went out to family. But I posted just one thing on Facebook, a single photo of me, standing in front of the massive front door, holding a champagne glass. The caption, "From unwanted daughter to owner of the block." It went viral among mutual friends. And of course, it found its way straight to Mark, Jessica, and Mom. 2 days later, Jessica showed up, uninvited, with sunglasses, fake tears, and a gift basket from some cheap corner store. "Emily, hey," she said sweetly, "I just wanted to say congratulations. Maybe we could start fresh? I mean, we're family." I smiled like I was happy to see her, then slowly closed the door in her face without saying a single word to Mark. Came next, acting like nothing had ever happened. "Hey, I've been thinking maybe we could partner on something? You're clearly doing great, and I've got some ideas." I laughed out loud. "You mean like the last time you called my art career a joke? Or the time you said I'd end up broke?" He didn't reply. Just looked down at his shoes, then left without another word. But the final moment, the one that truly satisfied something deep in my soul, came when Mom showed up at my gate. She didn't bring gifts. She didn't wear sunglasses. She just stood there, holding the necklace Dad had given her on their anniversary. Her eyes were wet, her hands trembling. "I made a mistake," she said. "I was angry. I didn't know he left everything to you. I thought maybe you'd come back." I walked to the gate slowly and said, "He didn't leave everything to me because I'm lucky. He left it to me because I never gave up on him." She nodded. Her voice cracked. "Can I come in?" I looked her dead in the eyes and whispered through the bars, "Not today. And probably, not ever." Then I turned, walked away, and didn't look back, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one knocking on doors anymore. I was the one closing them.